All right, and here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, episode number 296 of Turin Giants podcast, the longest running Juventus podcast in English. Season number 13. I don't mention that a lot. Sorry, I was just bringing groceries upstairs, so I'm a little out of breath.
Sucking wind over here.
Uncle Farhad is not in the best shape, but even though I was at the gym today. Boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us and spending a little bit of chunk of your time with me, Farhad, as I mentioned, Zach, and Freddie here on hand. What's up, boys?
As short of the time as we can spend on Parma, the better. Because man, that game kind of pissed me off.
I still have gastritis watching that game. So
Well, before we do, let's do the usual intros. Let's go, boys.
Good afternoon, parents. Good afternoon, boys and girls. Shut the fuck up.
Buongiorno, 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 buongiorno. Come ha detto lei, buongiorno, buongiorno.
Oh, buongiorno indeed, boys and girls, once again. I posted on our Instagram at Turin Giants, of course. I posted a little screenshot after the game where, JuveFC.com, they have a little thing about Dusan missing the game, which says Juventus faced with an unexpected setback during, of course, my Instagram is effing up, during the game against Parma as Dusan Vlahovic was forced to leave the pitch. The post-Juventus hit was injury to the key player in the Parma game. And the replies were just hilarious. I don't want to waste any of your time, but literally like 12 people wrote to me, Key, the mother. It's just hilarious how people are just ready to leave the Dusan train behind. But we'll talk more about that. I just have one question. If you're trying to make a top four, losing a game to Parma, that's good, right? That's part. Is that part of the plan,
it's
or maybe I just
losing-
don't know the game?
No, look, Farhad. It is losing against Parma to give the other teams false hope. Okay, so it's lulling them into a mood of complacency.
Yeah,
So that we pounce.
we, with our little minds, cannot fathom the genius of the Juve board. And once again,
it's like, you know what that's like? That's when. Do you know the director M. Night Shyamalan, the guy who did Sixth Sense?
I hate
all of
that
his
guy.
movies afterwards were complete duds. And one of the movies, which was The Happening, I think, he literally came out. He's a pompous prick. Like, everybody hates him. He came out and said, "You just don't get it. If you don't enjoy my movies, it's your fault." So it's maybe our fault for not understanding the plan that Juve has. But yeah. We have on today's show, we'll mention the Parma game. We'll discuss a couple of key points, of course. Juventus Women, the real heroes.
That's right. That's right.
Zach will spearhead the discussion about the success of Juventus Women. 6th Scudetto, last one since 2022. Previously, they did
seventh. I believe it's their seventh.
Seventh. We'll double check that. But anyways, they won 5 in a row. I think it is 6th because the moniker was
You're
legend.
Right. Yeah.
So 5 in a row, and then since 2022, this was the first time. Congratulations, ladies. We are so proud of you. Zach, let me zoom you in. If you guys are watching this on YouTube or Spotify with video, check out Zach. Zach's mug.
Oh yeah. So I usually have my I'd rather be watching Juve mug. I now have
bring it
edit.
closer to the
It's backwards on the camera,
Yes.
but I've edited it manually. I'd rather be watching Juventus Women,
and put a tape.
a team that has embodied is thankfully there is a team that embodies Juventus winning culture in the family. So thank you to Juventus Women for that.
That's right. Fantastic. So we'll talk about that. We also have we have some questions from the audience. We always love the crowd participation, and they came out strong today. So we don't have much time. We will keep it short. We will keep it tight, and let's get into it, shall we? First thing, what do you guys want to talk about first? Should we?
Let's just get Parma over with, man.
Let's go.
Agreed.
I think that the thing that I want.
where do we
I mean, I
begin?
think this is what I'm gonna start with. Okay, is
Yes, sir.
the honeymoon with Tudor is over. You know, every new coach there's a bump, right, and then sort of equilibrium sets. And I think yesterday's game was a little bit of a indicative of that. And I think the big concerning thing is that if I didn't look at who's on the sidelines based on how we played, it could have easily been Thiago Motta with how the team played, with no energy, with no adaptation, with questionable subs, with gun shy, cluelessness in attack, giving up a couple stupid opportunities that allowed the other team to have chances, one of which they took advantage of. And so the sickness of this team that we saw under Motta, exacerbated, of course, by losing the dressing room, but the underlying sickness still remains, that this team is not where it needs to be. It does not have the character of a Juventus team. And it really saddened me. I was really upset for an even-keeled person watching games. I was really upset at looking just how clueless and heartless they were on the pitch yesterday.
Freddie,
Yeah.
I know you have some thoughts. First of all, let's play intros for our friends, Zach, and the new podcast favorite for Freddie.
And now, Freddie Scoops with the scoop. He's the best in the business, see?
I love the little
at the end.
If you look at my Google search history, you'll find buy online fedora and stuff like that since the intro of the jingle. So got a surprise planned up. No, anyway, I wholeheartedly agree with Zach. For me, the bigger issue is that we just lack quality. We spend a lot of money, and it's repetitive, I know, but we just don't have any players that can make a difference. And if it were up to me and I'd have, my say within the Juventus board, I'd sell them all. There's not one player that I'm attached to emotionally or that shows me every game what passion they have for Juve and how they perform on the pitch. There's absolutely nothing that is constructed within this team. It's unbalanced, it's uneven, it's lackluster, it's arrogant at times.
See that?
It's like we're watching a game of people that met each other yesterday. Say, hey, want to go out and play some football? Yeah, let's go. It's embarrassing to say the least. And for me, I'm way past that being mad stage. I'm right next to Zach being sad and a bit depressed because we were hoping for that push for that final closure of this season and see what leads us into the new season and what we can do there. But it's just pain, suffering, and agony thus far. And I just want this season to be over with 4th, 5th place. I really couldn't care less anymore. Just
No, we really want 4th, even though it's
yeah, of course you
disheartening,
do.
but we do want 4th. So much
you-
will
you-
depend on the top 4.
You want 4th, but first of all, it's up to the players to show that they want this as well. And that's the main thing that's been lacking, like the whole season throughout. So
Yeah.
if you play this game and knowing that your competition won, so it's a must-win game eventually, that's been postponed. So you had 10 days to prepare that game, and you come out with this shambolic performance, then you should be ashamed of yourself. You're not
Well, let's take a look at let's take a look at the table. We slid down to number 5 again, position number 5. I mean, come on. So Inter is tied at 71 with Napoli, which is like craziness happening up top. It's so fun to watch. We agree we all want Napoli to win, right? And then Atalanta 64 points. Bologna with that magnificent win again.
Yep.
That's how you play when your life depends on it. Man. Anyway, Bologna leapfrogged us, and we didn't help ourselves. So they have 60, we have 59. We're sitting in 5th place. Of course, Lazio is slowly creeping up. They're actually tied with us at 59, and Roma with their amazing performances as of recently with 57 points. Man, we can. I'm not even talking about top 4. We can still be like 6th if
Yeah.
we're going this way, because we've
Even
dropped
8.
we've dropped all the points we could drop.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, we still control our destiny, right? If we win out, when we play Lazio and Bologna, both away, by the way, we control our destiny. But I think what we're kind of saying is that nothing in recent performances give us confidence that we can go out and do the job based on form, and not only ours but of our competition. Lazio has been playing well, but Bologna have been playing lights out.
Mhm.
Punctuated with the exclamation point against Inter this past weekend. So it's going to be a nervy run in, and this Parma game has just got us all pessimistic about our chances, despite our future still being held in our hands. And I think if there's a bright spot, I think it's keeping Yildiz healthy. I think he was one of only 2 players I felt in the game yesterday that wanted to win. Everyone else seemed to be just going through the motions for me. But when Yildiz came on, he showed energy, he showed drive, he showed a positivity in his play, opposite the only other player I saw who was trying to go to goal, which is Chico Conceição, who I know drives some people nuts, but at least he was trying to go to goal, unlike everybody else. And if we can keep Yildiz healthy and he can bring that type of energy, I think that is our only hope of getting the amount of points we need to remain top 4.
Well,
But
it's important to keep Yildiz, period, not just healthy, because top 5 finish, he's gone for.
but even that, like, we still have to build a whole new team. No matter what
Yeah.
happens, you can
It'll
keep
be a
Yildiz,
disaster.
you could keep Thuram. You have your back line, which is pretty solid. If Bremer and Cabral come back in good shape. But apart from that, you can literally just get rid of them all. I mean, there's not a single player that has such a deep impact on the squad that you can say, "Hey, man, let's keep him because he's gonna be our next, um, defender that's gonna, get his position in and is gonna be a top tier defender or midfielder or whatever." We don't have that. We
Yeah, I
spent
think
all this money and we got nowhere.
I think based on performance, the players you keep, if you can, Di Gregorio,
Mhm.
Bremer, Locatelli, Thuram, Yildiz.
And then build a team around
And
him.
and build a team around them. I think Gatti is, if if there's no offers, I'm perfectly fine having him as a rotational piece in the defense. Kalulu, I think he's the guy you keep as well. I think he's versatile, and I think you can build around him. But I think what's that in a squad of 20 players? That's 5. I mean, it's not very good.
Nope.
All right, let me know how deep you want to go into the game. Maybe talk about it for a couple of minutes. What do you guys think? Who wants to take on that beast?
Yeah, I'll have my gastritis speak for me then.
Yeah.
It was a game that you could see at the start that was going to end badly because we showed no aggressiveness, no passion, no communication, which I felt was strange because last 2 games prior to that, we pretty much communicated on the pitch very well. People took over each other's roles, and it was more fluent. that wasn't the case yesterday or the day before. Can't remember. The day before, yeah. No, yesterday. My apologies. But apart from that, you could see the whole thing, and the first half was a. Whew, I mean, we didn't create anything. I mean, we didn't for the whole game, but the first half was so passive. It was so lackluster that you kind of wondered like what's going on, and
Yeah.
just
It's one thing to lose 1-0 like Inter did at the death, and another thing is like, oh, okay, we conceded in the first half. How about you score a goal, or how about it's just like 1-0 loss? Your Juve against Parma is just so
you can always lose
flattening.
against a weaker side. I mean, there's no shame in that. But like the way we lose and the way we drew this season speaks volumes of our character and our ensemble as a team. We're not a
I think there
team
is
on
a
the
shame in that
pitch.
because you have an objective, and you clearly we've dropped 5 points already, and game against Roma and those are huge points. So I don't know. I'll shame them.
Yeah, but not because of the way how the final result, not just because of the final result, but what they performed on the pitch. That to me
Yeah.
is embarrassing. Like,
I think the thing is and saying what y'all are saying a slightly different way is to use your Inter Bologna example is you can respect losing to a team that's in good form, that's playing really well, and they
Mhm.
have a moment of brilliance. It's almost impossible to swallow losing to a team that's worse than you, who offered very little.
It's laughable.
It's just embarrassing. And what's crazy is Parma had, I think, 2 scoring opportunities. They had that one breakaway, a pseudo breakaway. Nico Gonzalez came back and recovered to disrupt the attacker, and then of course they had the goal where Kelly once again lost his man, allowing for that beautiful header. The whole game, 2 chances. Otherwise, they'd offered nothing, and their expected goals was about equal to ours. Despite Juventus having 16 to 20 shots, we did nothing with them. We did not. The shots that we have were not threatening. We couldn't get them on target. It was just, and I've said this before, is Juventus under Motta played down to their competition, because they didn't have any personal pride or respect, not only in Juventus, but I think in themselves, letting themselves down, playing passive, playing weak, playing clueless. I saw no energy, no drive, no fight on the pitch. And you do that against, a Roma team that's playing really well, or a Bologna team that's playing well, or a team's above us in the table. And you shrug at the end of the day, because those are fair results. Losing against Parma is unacceptable in any world, and not to take away from them, because they've been a really scrappy team under their new coach in order to salvage, staying up this year, and they did the job that they required of them. Okay, so I don't want to take away necessarily from Parma, because they did what they needed to. Credit to
Certainly
them,
not.
but that should never be a case against Juventus.
and
Yeah.
Tudor was furious in the dressing room. He was hell bent, and he actually said something along the lines that, like, you guys to the team, you're not men.
Ooh.
He was furious because he used to, they're obliged to give an interview with the Zone x amount of minutes after the game, and he was late, and some people, well, that's the rumor at least, went to see where he was at, and they could still hear him yelling from within the corridor of the dressing room. So
Wow.
he went on a tirade for like 15 to 20 minutes. So
And now,
Yeah.
Freddie Scoops with the scoop. He's the best in the business, see?
Sorry. It only makes sense if it's before you present the scoop. But yeah. Should we move on from the low of the lows to like we mentioned, Juventus ladies making us proud, and I don't think they're celebrated enough. So, Zach, I'll give you the floor. Celebrate our ladies.
Yeah, what we're really talking about is a tale of two teams truly embodying the best of times and the other the worst of times. You know, entering this season, both Juventus senior teams had a similar storyline. They plucked a new coach out of a team with a much slower stature. They had significant turnover in their team. They battled injuries this year with the goal to reclaim their former glory. But that's where the similarities ended, because once the season started, the Juventus women hit the ground running, seizing first place in Serie A and never looking back, securing the Scudetto a week ago in a 2-0 victory over Milan. And over the course of that, led Serie A in scoring almost 20 goals more than the next highest team. You have a coach, Max Kanzi, who came in and set the standard for how to come in as a new coach with a team with significant turnover to implement a new system and be successful. In stark contrast to what we saw with Thiago Motta. So I have to give Max Kanzi and all the women for Juventus team an enormous amount of congratulations and a large amount of applause for their success this year, ultimately reaping the rewards by winning the Scudetto. Oh, and by the way, tune in. What is it? I got it written down here. May 15th, Coppa Italia finals against Roma, the team that they have now displaced as champion.
So
Yeah,
chance for a
might
double.
I add to that? Might I add to that? I was fortunate enough to witness a couple of games, and the way they played, that was pure Juve DNA. Like,
Love to
not
hear
just
it.
not just the talent, but the way they, the scrappy victories, just winning by heart and by persistence. And yeah, I love those kind of games. Like, yeah, gave me goosebumps, and it made me realize what we were missing as a squad in the men's team. And
They
I
play,
hope
Well,
to see
they play
somebody.
they play a kind of a ferocious, what I would describe as a ferocious 3-5-2.
Yeah.
They're very good going forward. Their defense at times has been a little shaky, but they're great going forward. You have 35-year-old Cristiane Girelli leading the team in goals, and of course Sofia Cantori also up there as the two pair, just being not only individually brilliant, but notably different from the men's team, is helping provide the leadership and the continuity from a team that was successful to teach all these new players that they brought in what it means to play for Juventus. I mean, when you look at their play time, 4 out of the top 10 in minutes on their team are new. 8 out of the 15 players in minutes played are new. I mean, this is half the team are meaningfully new, and we saw something similar with the men. But you saw a coach in Max Kanzi come in and say, hey, look, this is what it means to play for me. This is what it means to play for Juventus, and this is how we're going to win. And then the team go from day one and do it. And that it shows you, I think, a coach who knows what it takes. And we plucked him out of Serie A, right, from the men's side, right? But this guy came in and he really instilled a system and a mindset around a veteran core that has proven to be successful. And I think if I were to identify anything that we've talked about from the men's side, is that veteran core is lacking. I think we see the value of it in the women's side and how they've been able to be so successful because of leaders in that dressing room and because of the personality of the coach. And again, I cannot say it enough. I've been, people who've listened to this regularly, I've tried to give you updates on the women's team throughout. It's been something I've enjoyed following, and I am just really happy for them to see them reap the rewards for their hard work.
Yeah, and also they work for each other, and I agree with what Zach said with the veteran core, because you can see that if somebody commands something on the pitch, the other people listen. Like if somebody is lacking or not working hard enough to provide coverage for somebody else who left their position, and you have those veterans, yeah, reprimanding them, so to speak. And out of respect, you follow, and that is what is
Accountability.
missing with us. Yeah,
Accountability.
It's not just accountability, it's standard, because you can be accountable at whatever standard. They set the standard high and they held people accountable to that standard. And I think when you have new players come in, and they've had their fair share of injuries woes as well, right? So you have people, and one of their best, if not their best midfielder, was sold in the winter market to Bayern. Like when you have turnover, when you have injuries, when a player leaves, it's not just being accountable; it's being accountable to the highest standard. And I think that's what the coach, and especially those veteran players, have done with this team. And that, when I said that this team set the standard for how to do this, I mean it, because there was no better season to compare about what could have happened otherwise than looking at the men's team, who had the same exact setup of high turnover, new coach, new system to try to take that next step, and has failed so far completely in those goals.
There
What
was-
do you boys say? Sorry, go ahead.
Just one
Go ahead,
quote
Fred.
that I absolutely
Sure.
love, because Max Kanzi is also new at Juventus, and I think it was around the time of November, I don't know, a bit before the winter break, so to speak, that they asked him, "What are your objectives now with this women's team?" Because they were creeping up top places at that point, and he said, "I just want them to honor the jersey, and the rest will come." And to have a coach that's only been there for 5-6 months, have that mentality and bring that mentality into the group of the players, that is something that we can only applaud and hope for to see in the future with our men's side.
Fantastic. I'm glad we covered that. Congratulations to the ladies one more time. And hopefully the boys will follow. By the way, I found one of my favorite replies to the key player gets injured against Parma from our buddy Zenon. He's like, damn, that title is misleading. I thought it was someone actually important. So, yeah.
Well, I mean,
Hold on. It's a long scroll down.
Oh, roasted.
We were all clamoring for the best 11. None of us put Dusan in the best 11. If he's injured, that means he can't be in our 11. So while I want nobody to ever get hurt, maybe it is a blessing in disguise that he sit on the bench for a couple of games or the rest of the season, to make sure he gets better.
Is he
Yes, please
injured?
give.
Is he?
I mean, it doesn't
his eye's hurting,
smell right.
man.
It doesn't, it doesn't really. Yeah, I kind of had the same feeling, Freddie. But to take it at face value, sure, as long as it gives him some time to get better on the bench, I'm okay with it.
All right, boys. Let's get to the questions from our audience. Always appreciate you taking a couple of minutes to type up a question for the boys at Turin Giants podcast. This question is from Basel on Instagram at Turin Giants. What's the deal with Cambiaso? The guy went from world class to mediocre right after the Man City debacle. It's too big. It's too big of a change in performance to be due to just a fallen deal. Interesting question. Cambiaso is definitely, for me, top 5 players of the season. Yeah, what happened? Freddie, do you got any scoops, or are we just going to speculate?
No,
because I need to be prepared.
No, we don't have to speculate. I think it's pretty plain to see that he had high hopes for this transfer to basically go through. It fell through, which had an impact on his mentality, but also he's been riddled with a lot of injuries.
Yeah,
and he struggles to get back into shape. And let's be honest, if the motivation's lacking and you're coming back from injuries, then it's twice as hard to get back in shape. So I think Cambiaso's playing a little bit with City in his head, and B, with the handbrake on, just to make sure he doesn't, get back into this injury. And he's hoping for his transfer in June, July to happen. So
yeah. Even if the transfer isn't playing on his mind, and I'm not saying it isn't, but even if we just assume that was done in January and he moved on, he has had a string of little ticky-tack injuries, which has prevented him from getting the game time and back up to match fitness. If I'm not mistaken, the start yesterday was his first in a long time, and it players, even the best of players, aren't immediately match fit. And so I think we saw a player who even if we assume the mental side or the failed transfer effect, you're still seeing a player who is not match fit and not up to the speed of the matches because of what at this point 3 months of lingering injuries.
Yeah, and to be honest, none of them are. If you look at our team physicality, we are dead by the 70th minute.
Yeah.
Always. We are so unprepared that it's unbelievable. I don't know what we did the whole summer, but these are players that are not in shape. I'd love to see this team play with, everybody just in shape and on top of things. I think that would change the outcome of some of the games drastically. But I think it's safe to say to Rana Cambiasso that if the offer still stands from City, which I doubt, I think we'll have to see him part ways with Juventus.
Yeah, it's like when we didn't sell. I always bring up that as an example. We didn't sell Alexandro in time, and then, well, he became kind of a legend. But yeah. Next question. Thank you, boys, for answering that. Next question is from our friend Dan Colosimo. Oh, my bell. Alessandro Belpiero got stuck. Dan, of course, you may know him as Colo99 on YouTube. We're just having a conversation here. He's kind of upset with, and he's sharing his thoughts about YouTube and how much less fun it became. But yeah, he's still cranking out those videos, and please follow him on Colo99 on pretty much all of the platforms. By the way, if you're watching this on video, let me turn around and I'll show you the shirt that he designed for us. This was Dele Alpi shirt. Is actually the orders are still coming in, so thank you all. The website is still down. Please DM me on Instagram. I will make it happen. Anyways, going back to Dan Colosimo. Question for the pod. When was the last year you truly enjoyed Juventus? And then he says that his last favorite year was 2017, 2018. And I actually looked up our whole squad, and we had players like Buffon was still number one, Szczesny as a backup, Barzali probably, wasn't getting a lot of play, but Pjanic, Khedira, Marquisio. I think I'm with him, to be honest. There was Dybala, Douglas Costa. I mean, Mandzukic alone was like having 3 players on the team. So I think it's a pretty good question and answer from Dan. Whoever wants to take this one on, we'll address that real quickly.
I think
just for the record, I agree with him.
I'm maybe a little bit more generous or forgiving. I'll say, I think the last year, I hated Allegri 2.0, just all of it, and this year's been really tough. So I'm gonna go with Pirlo's year. I just really liked the idea of, and similarly to going into this year, I really like the idea of a young coach to grow with the team as we try to transition into a younger core. And as much as that year had some turbulence, I saw it much more as Freddie's favorite word, a project that I could kind of try to get behind. Ultimately, it didn't end up the way we wanted, especially because he was fired at the end of the year to lead to the Allegri 2.0. But I really was excited that maybe this team could transition under a manager who we all loved as a player, and so I was feeling optimistic about the future. And then it was absolutely destroyed when they fired him and brought in Allegri.
Yeah, that was cold. That was cold when they did that. Pirlo didn't deserve to go down like that. But 2017-18 season, going back to it, of course, Allegri was the coach. We won the Serie A, Coppa Italia. Who can tell me who was the top scorer of that year? And for bonus points, how many goals he scored?
So this is Freddie Land.
Freddie Land, let's go.
Must have been either that or the year after. I think it was Higuain.
That's right. Paulo Dybala with 26 goals. Paulito.
He
I
says
said
Higuain.
Higuain,
He
but
says
whatever.
Higuain, and
I
Farhad
know.
goes, "That's right, Dybala."
I know. It was a joke. I know he said that. I
Was
know.
was
I'm
it the
just trying to
season after that Higuain was top scorer?
This will take me
That
some
was
time to Google. I don't want to take
Nah,
up
no
much time, but
worries.
I will go back to you with that.
Right.
But yeah, Dybala was the top scorer. By the way, did you guys? I know it's been. I'm still seeing the photos of Dybala on the touchline, injured in his quarter zip up for Roma, looking excellent.
Necklace, slightly longer
Uh,
hair,
God
face
damn,
still
we,
looks
I
12.
have my Dybala jersey on, by the way. So
That's right. That's right. I love that. Yeah. Isn't that from that? No, that's 15-16, I think. Yeah. By the way, you guys are missing out if you're not watching us. So tune in on YouTube, and Spotify has the video and the whole thing. I should have prepared a next question. This one, I'm not crazy about these questions, but because it's Amit, he's our boy. He's straight from the UK, and he did actually purchase our Dele Alpi shirt, so I kind of owe it to him. But with Vlahovic, pretty much, this is against
Farhad, open to corruption.
if you buy a shirt, get a question in. That's right. I'm gonna start selling everything on this podcast. But Amit, he's our friend, so he has a question. If you guys want to do it real quick, maybe Freddie scoops again with some information. With Vlahovic pretty much guaranteed to leave, which striker would you be signing that is realistic to replace him next season?
personally, or what's going on in
Just
Turin
give
at
us
the
some.
moment?
Hey, I will. Can I answer that question, Farhad?
Sure.
I would like to. I want to know what is most likely based on the current environment in the transfer market and stuff. So, I'm sorry, Freddie. Your dreams, I don't really care. What is actually what is actually likely, and what are a couple players that Juventus fans could start either looking into or keep in the back of their mind as we enter the summer?
Osimhen.
Hold on. Damn it. We
Not
got a
again
protocol
with the
here. We got a
jingle.
protocol here, man.
Okay, so
And now, Freddie Scoops with the scoop. He's the best in the business, see?
The most ad protocol in any podcast.
People love a callback. If you keep doing the same thing, people will love it and keep coming back. We're desperate for listeners. I got to be honest. I'm just. We're doing whatever we can, man.
Hi, Mom.
Yeah, tell your friends. All right, Freddie Scoops. Who do you see replacing Vlahovic next season?
yeah, it's pretty early to tell because we don't have a head coach as of now. I mean, for next season, nothing is set in stone. I know for a fact that Alcon really wants Osimhen, or at least the board of management does, which is the most viable option at the moment. Some people say that an offer from Manchester United was refused because the offer of Juventus is already higher. I don't know if there's any truth in that. And Gyökeres. So these are the two.
Is that realistic? I mean, Juventus is going to have to pay out the nose for the. I mean, we know Osimhen's got the release clause. You're going to have to pay out. Are these realistic? Realistic transfers? Because when we were texting about this, I was like, "There's no way if we don't finish top 4 that we'd get either of these guys." And even if we do finish top 4, are we not repeating the mistakes of the past by overspending for a singular player when we need to build a squad? When you got guys like Kristovic or Jonathan David on a free.
That's another discussion. The thing with Jonathan David is that his manager wants a 25 million signing bonus.
Oof.
So, yeah.
right.
That's one thing. The other thing is there's fresh money coming in. Not just with the sponsorship, which should be Jeep, which I kind of hate because you're going like back to the future like we did with our coaches. But yeah, I know.
Jeep,
Yeah,
Jeep. I mean, that's just money, though. That's just money. And I can't stand Jeep as a sponsor. Coming from Detroit myself, you all have your allegiances up when you come from Detroit, being an automotive city, and I come from a very ingrained Ford family, so I got my own Jeep issues. But that's just money. That's not strategy.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you spend a season without a main sponsor, and then after that season you go back to your main sponsor from 2 years ago. Yeah, what is our brand manager doing at that point? You have to ask yourself that question also. But apart from that, like money is money. We have money coming in from the stablecoin Tether. They purchased over 11% of the Juventus shares in total, meaning they have voting rights over 6% in the management board. And they already stated via press release and via an interview that they would love nothing more than to recapitalize Juventus and make Juventus great again. They actually said there's literally an abbreviation, MJGA,
Yeah, let's not
with
make
a
that happen.
zebra rising, but that's real money. That's real money, and because that's another question coming, so I'm not going to spoil it. But there's money coming in. How we spend it, that's another debate.
Yeah.
No, but
Zach,
that-
did you? Sorry, go ahead,
Noah.
Zach.
I was just
Nope.
saying that how you spend it is what I'm calling into question. There's no, we talked about it with Beppe actually. Is Osimhen the best forward that we were discussing
Nope,
at the
nope,
time? No, at the
not at all.
time. At the time, he probably was that we were discussing during that conversation, but he's cost 75 million. If you can get Kristovic and you can get David, less a $25 million upfront bonus, and you get another guy or whatever, and you have them compete for spots, and you take the guy who's hot, you build up your talent pool. There's an argument to be said for that when you have, if you can then spend that 75 million to get an actual right back to complement, get another 10 next to Yildiz, a legitimate quality, to maybe get another center back to ensure that Kelly isn't starting every game, So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying is, no question about that the players you mentioned are quality, but is the quality worth the price? And that's what I'm concerned about, because we have made bad decisions before.
There is one interesting potential transfer happening, which is a fellow countryman of mine, Maxime de Kuiper from Bruges. He plays as a left back or a left midfielder. And word around campfire is there already been 3 or 4 talks with his manager, and he's very, very interested to make that move. And in my personal opinion, he's a very talented player with lots of room to grow, and can count on interest of, let me check, the usual suspects: United, Fulham, Everton, Liverpool, Atletico, Inter. So
That's
I mean,
the grab
So-
bag of teams.
So, awesome. Well, that was real good. Zach, did you mention Detroit?
I did mention Detroit.
Giants up for Detroit. I love this city.
Is that your drop? I have suggestions for other Detroit drops if you really want one.
But I guarantee you, whoever was listening to this will have this little blip get stuck in their head for the rest of the day. So that's my gift to you. By the way,
Can I ask a question, kind of on the transfer sort of front to Freddie?
of course.
Kelly and Costa, the sort of our one panic and one random winner buy. Do you think with the change in managers is that they might have a future at the club, or could these be like a Thiago Giallo type transfer where they kind of come in and they get loaned or sold kind of pretty quickly?
this is the same question that Alcon is asking himself, because and this was one of my scoops. Alcon is furious, and if we don't make Champions League, and even if we make Champions League, heads will roll. And I'm hearing that if we don't make Champions League, Alcon's gonna fire like everybody, the whole board of management. Juntoli first.
Wow.
He holds Juntoli personally accountable for what is happening, especially given the fact that Tudor is not able to right these wrongs that have been made. And what looked as if a very profitable balance sheet in November has turned into dog shit, which was one of the main objectives from Elkan himself, to sanitize the whole financial issues, which isn't happening. Sportively, we're not performing. So those are two things that have not been met. And if we don't meet them by the end of the season, heads will roll. And Elkan
So,
is
but
not
but what does
happy
that
with us.
mean? But what does that mean for like a guy like Kelly or Costa? I mean, Kelly has had to play, but we've seen him make mistake after mistake after mistake, and Costa has barely played. Though I think he's looked fine in the brief of minutes we've seen him. But they just are. I think a lot of folks, and myself included, have kind of wondered: are these kind of random transfers that just then get disappeared on loans?
Yeah. Yeah, because Costa, as rumor has it, will be loaned out to Sporting Lisbon next season. Don't know why. Don't ask me why. We bought him to not get the competition from other teams, and then we choose to loan him out to the teams that were the competition to buy him in the first place. So I have no
Well,
idea what's
at least
going on there.
they have at least one Serie A champion in that family now.
Yeah. That's not much of a
That's not.
comfort to the balance sheet. But
I'm talking
whatever.
about the wrong person. I apologize.
Yeah.
I was thinking, yeah, but no matter. And Kelly to me is just like the alley oop for Tonali.
Mm.
But
Mm.
if you don't
Pawn.
make if you don't make Champions League, even if you have the money, Tonali won't be interested. So it's a lose-lose situation. The same with Conceição. We paid a humongous amount to have him on loan, and now we're not even gonna buy him probably. And that's with a lot of players. Vega is the same. Colomwani is the same. You spend a lot of money on players that are a temporary solution, and at the end, they aren't a solution after all. So basically, we burned money the whole season long. Not even just the transfer period. The other transfer periods after that, we made the same mistakes. And like I said, heads roll, and I follow the theater thing very close, because the way I see it and the way that people are addressing it is that it feels like a theater takeover, and the fact that they are now buying shares periodically. And I think if the financial situation improves, that Elkan will decide to eventually sell the club.
Wow.
And who
Crazy.
better to sell it to than the majority, or the people that have the second majority of shares. So let's fasten our seatbelts for this summer period.
Very nice. Thank you, buddy. Freddie, do you mind if we keep the question about the inner workings for the next couple podcasts?
Sure.
Because I wanted to mention Kevin is missing today. Shout outs to him. He brought up something that he wanted to discuss, but I think it's fitting because we just talked about, strikers and prices. So he gave us a small list of some of the great Juve squads in the title hauling era did not have world-class strikers, but they were Matri, Vucinic, Llorente, Morata, Quagliarella, Borriello. Borriello is a little stretch, but that was 2011, 12, and so on. But yeah, just wanted to give a shout out to Kevin, bring up some old names that did not cost us an arm and a leg, and I like a player that's a hidden gem that nobody knows about. It's so fun. It's such an interesting part of the game.
It's easy, I mean, relatively, to find a player and that's well known, spend a boatload of cash to bring them in. It actually takes effort and attention to find players that have the qualities that you're looking for in a team, in a tactic. That involves a sporting director and a coach to be in sync of who they're looking for and what to want to accomplish, to then be in coordination with the scouting department, to be looking out and tracking and monitoring the players that have those qualities, to then work it to the transfer team, to then be talking with the agents, talking with the teams, to nurture those relationships and make sure that you're first in line to get those deals. Which is why I mentioned Kristovic. It's like, not to say that he's an example, not necessarily that he would be the player. Is there are guaranteed players out there that are a reasonable fee that have the qualities that we need, but we are lacking, I think, that sort of alignment in our front office. And certainly now that we don't have a full-time coach from the coaching perspective to be able to articulate what is this team missing from that position? What are the qualities of the player that we need to be successful? Go out and find them. Give me a list of 5.
Well, some of the great teams that are consistent, they may not be world class, but Atletico brings in players like that. Borussia, I love the way those. They're not giants, but I love the way they operate and stay afloat using those resources of maybe players that are not well known.
Food for thought. When our golden age with let's just bring in Vidal, Pirlo, those types of players, Tevez, Barzali. You know what our operating cost for the scouting department was at that time? And I know we have seen price increases all around the world, but it was, I'm gonna say it for you, it was 3.2 million euros. So we spent 3.2 million euros on scouting, meaning going to games, talking with agents, having a restaurant meeting, I don't know, whatever. The last few years, it's been 7.5 million. So we spend double the amount on our scouting department. We basically did the same as Juntoli did. We threw money at them with no apparent result. So this basically confirms what Zach's saying, is that there's no communication. There's no sporting director or general director talking with each other or communicating with the scouting department, and there's no output. You have the input, you have that 7.5 million euros that we basically burn. I mean, it doesn't cost 7.5 million euros to see an Atalanta game and purchase Koopmeiners for 65 million. It doesn't cost you 7.5 million euros to go to Bruges and see Maxime de Kuiper play or whatever. So
you can drive down, right? You can have a talk for them.
I'll do it for half price.
For a pack of cigarettes. Pack of cigarettes.
give me
money, pack of cigarettes, and a 6-pack. Freddie,
or just give me like 10 minutes in a room with no windows with Junta. I'd be happy as well. But apart from that, I mean, it's kind of like we said, and we repeated this numerous times. It all drizzles down from the top, and if our management and the people in charge in the staffing departments aren't coordinating, working together, or having their noses in the same direction, then we can throw money and burn money all day long, all year long, and we will still suffer from the same disease that we've been suffering for a couple of years now. You have to, if you get a player in and you see that a player can be valuable, that player needs to feel wanted to come to Juventus and wants to explode there. That's what Vidal did. He saw that as a golden opportunity to play at, wow, Juventus. Our jersey meant something. It was like, you know, a stage set for people to shine. Whereas now we've become second, third choice. And
Juventus definitely in the banter era, as they say.
Yeah, they look at the paycheck and not the jersey anymore. And that's something we inflicted upon ourselves. That needs to get out of this club immediately.
I think that's a perfect time to end this edition of the Turin Giants podcast. Boys, thank you so much. This was a fun episode. Juventus are playing against Monza April 27th in 3 days, and then a showdown against Bologna on May 4th. May the 4th. I guess we'll have to bring out our inner Han Solo. Is that a thing? I've never seen Star Wars.
No, it would be the Force, and Han Solo doesn't use it. So that was possibly the worst
worst
example you could give Farhad.
Okay.
That was really the worst.
My God.
I watched Tarantino, goddammit. But anyways, thank you for correcting me. If we do the episode on May 4th, we will talk about, I guess, Star Wars a little more for our.
I hope you're not there then, because boy, that could get rough.
Yeah, I'll catch up. Boys and girls, thank you again so much for joining us. We loved every second of being on air for you guys. And check on your friends, stay hydrated, and Forza Juve.
thunderstruck. Went down the highway, broke the limits, we hit the town. Went through the Texas.